Welcome to the episode of Johnny Talks Football. Today there's going to be a couple things to talk about, starting with the shocking news that the sports world received last night. The Philadelphia Eagles have released head coach Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly had 26 wins in his first 3 seasons with Philadelphia, or should I say his only 3 seasons with Philadelphia. But it came at a pretty expensive price. According to this article I'm reading right now on MSN, it says he still had 2 years left on his 5-year contract worth $32.5 million, with the annual salary of $6.5 million. That means the Eagles still owed him about $13.5 million at the moment he was let go. And here's the true about how much they will have to ultimately pay him. It says if you want to play the math game, that means the Eagles will ultimately pay Kelly $32.5 million for 26 wins in 3 seasons, or about $1.25 million per win. Geez, that is way more than I'll probably make in my lifetime, which is pretty hefty. Some Eagles fans wanted this. Some Eagles fans were frustrated about it and wanted the defensive coordinator fired. Deasy. But what's going on now with the Philadelphia Eagles? Where will they go? Some people are saying Adam Gase from Chicago, Sean Payton from the Saints. The Saints let him go on Monday. Or maybe a college coach will want to try the NFL. Maybe Jim Moore will return to the NFL. Or maybe John Gruden steps down from Monday Night Football to coach the Eagles, which won't happen. But that would be pretty impressive to see if he would step down from commentating to coaching again. So let's get to my NFL mock draft. I'm only doing the top 10 because I feel like if I do more than 10, this video will probably be longer than I want it to be. But you might want to listen to this whole thing because I have a bold trade that's coming in this top 10. So you might want to listen up. We're starting with the first overall pick being the Tennessee Titans. And before I move on, let me just say that I'm using this as the draft order as it would be right now if the season were to end. Tennessee would have the number 1 pick, and I have them going with Laramie Tunsil, the offensive tackle for Ole Miss. It's almost about a 98% certainty that Laramie Tunsil will be the number 1 overall pick. And there's probably a 1 or 2% chance that they actually go with Joey Bosa. But I overall think that they will go with Tunsil just to have protection for Marcus Mariota because he's been taking a beating this season. At number 2 overall, I have the Cleveland Browns going with Joey Bosa, the defensive end or outside linebacker for Ohio State. Joey Bosa can help that Cleveland defense pretty well. Cleveland has a decent secondary, but it's not really that good enough. And he can help stop the run a little bit. San Diego with the number 3 overall pick, or it could be Los Angeles Chargers next season. We'll have to wait and see. But I have him going with Vernon Hargreaves, the cornerback out of Florida. I think this would help San Diego a lot because San Diego did not defend the pass really well this season. I think Hargreaves will be a huge help for them in the future. At number 4, this is where the bold trade comes in. The Cleveland Browns will trade Johnny Manziel to the Dallas Cowboys for the Cowboys' first overall pick. In case I kind of confused you guys, let me just repeat myself. The Cleveland Browns and the Dallas Cowboys will make an agreement. The Cowboys will get Johnny Manziel and probably some scrub player on the Browns as well. And the Dallas Cowboys will give the Cleveland Browns the Cowboys' first round pick, which means the Cleveland Browns will also have the 4th overall pick, and they will go with Myles Jack, the linebacker out of UCLA. And Myles Jack can also play running back as well. Number 5 overall, the 49ers. This is kind of an up-in-the-air thing, whether or not Colin Kaepernick and Blaine Gabbert both remain on that roster next season. But I got the 49ers going with Jared Goff, the quarterback out of California. Now, I thought Jared Goff was a bust, but seeing him yesterday, maybe I could be wrong, but maybe I could be right about him being a bust. But can Jared Goff fit in the NFL system? Could he fit in San Fran's system? Or was he meant to fit in another system? We'll find out if he gets drafted to the 49ers. We'll probably find out maybe in about a year or two. Number 6 overall, Jacksonville. I have him going Jalen Ramsey, the safety/cornerback out of Florida State. Jacksonville's secondary has not been good lately, and I think if they had Jalen Ramsey, it would help them a little bit. Because I think that they're a good corner away from probably being a contender. Because they have a lot of offensive weapons with Blake Bortles, TJ Yeldon, Julius Thomas, Allen Hurns, Allen Robinson. They just got to build up on their defense now. And I like Jalen Ramsey to be a good start for him. Number 7, the Miami Dolphins. I have him going Emmanuel Ogbah, the defensive end out of Oklahoma State. I think if Ogbah joined Ndamukong Suh, I feel like they can have a better defensive line. They can stop the run better. They can get to the quarterback. Because you're going to need to have good pass rushers in the division that the Dolphins are in. Because you're going to have to sack Tom Brady. You're going to play Tom Brady twice a year, and Emmanuel Ogbah is a good pass rusher for that. At number 8, the Baltimore Ravens, I have them going with Jalen Smith, the linebacker out of Notre Dame. Baltimore just has not had a good season, with Terrell Suggs being out for the year and Steve Smith being out for the year, who announced his retirement before he had a season-ending injury. They lost Forsett and Flacco. It just wasn't a good year for the Baltimore Ravens, and I think they're in a recovery process. And I think getting a solid pick from out of Jalen Smith will help the Ravens recover for next season. Number 9, Tampa Bay. I have them going with A'Shawn Robinson, the defensive end and defensive tackle out of Alabama. Now, Alabama is known for taking good defensive players in college and turning them into good pro athletes. And they're more of a running back school as well. In fact, the most common players you would find out of Alabama are defensive ends, defensive tackles, safeties, and corners, and running backs. And I think Tampa Bay is going to get a solid pick out of this. Helps that defense out a lot, considering that the NFC South is very competitive now with Cam Newton, Drew Brees, and Matt Ryan. Although there was something going on that I read earlier on ESPN that said it's a possibility that neither Drew Brees or Sean Payton will be back from New Orleans next season. But either way, I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers need to take A'Shawn Robinson with a 9th pick if he's available. Because remember, anything can happen here. Things can change. And rounding out my top 10, I have the New York Giants going with Andrew Billings, the defensive tackle out of Baylor. Now, I think this is going to help the Giants a lot, because the Giants have struggled on defense. We saw them struggle on defense last week against the Vikings. They couldn't stop Adrian Peterson or Jerick McKinnon. And with Giants players getting older and older, like Jason Pierre-Paul, I think he could help Jason Pierre-Paul a little bit next season with this type of defensive tackle. Stop the run, blitz the quarterbacks. I just think that's going to be a huge help. And that was my top 10. And yes, I do have that bold prediction because I think Johnny Manziel has proven that he can be a leader in the NFL. I think he's proved that he's worth keeping on the Browns, but I don't see him cutting him. I see him being traded only. But if Johnny Manziel doesn't get traded, then the Cowboys will take Myles Jack anyway, in my opinion. So that 4th pick is going to come down to whether the Browns and Cowboys will come to a trade agreement or not. Because one of those teams will have Myles Jack next season. Anyway, that is your video. Have a good day, everybody.